On the scene, know we doing it right. Talking politics, you read when we up on the mic. It's no BS, we cover each and every weekend. Put you on the game, this is WTF.
Alright, how's it going, guys? This is WTF. This is podcast number 4. It's a special podcast for me because I have a special guest with me today. He's a current writer for the Fantasy Footballers, also writes for Fantasy Pros, Gridiron Experts, and he's a host for The Empire, which is also a podcast on Gridiron Experts. So without further ado, this is Mitchell Renz. How you doing, Mitchell?
Hey, man. Thank you very much for the invite. I was pretty happy. I was glad that you reached out to me. It's always good to see young and upcoming stars in this industry. And at only 17, I'm very impressed with the setup that you have.
Thank you.
You can definitely tell that you're a Steelers fan, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But no, man, thank you very much. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to have you. It's kind of funny how I just kind of like DM'd you to try and see what I could do to get to where you are right now, and it ends up like this. So I think that's pretty cool.
Well, that's what it's all about. I mean, I would definitely not be where I am without help, so I'm always happy to talk football and help out when I can.
Yeah, this is where it starts. All right.
For sure.
So I guess we'll just get right into the thick of things if you want. I saw an article that's on your Twitter about 3 bounce-back receivers for fantasy this year, right?
Okay.
And you said Sammy Watkins, John Brown, and Allen Robinson. So
Yep.
I didn't see, but what was your number 1 bounce-back receiver out of those 3?
Well, I don't really think it was necessarily trying to figure out which is the number 1, but I think the guy who I really was trying to highlight in that article was Sammy Watkins. And
Okay.
I think a lot of people are putting away Sammy Watkins because of all the injury concerns that he's had. And I mean, he's definitely had plenty of them. I mean, he's missed 11 games in his first 3 seasons, but what I really wanted to focus on in that article was just how of an elite player Sammy Watkins is. I mean, he was taken ahead of guys like Mike Evans, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry.
He was the number 4 pick, right?
Yeah, number 4 pick to Buffalo. And I mean, when you talk about spark athletes, you know what spark is? Like, it measures like how, like, I guess much of an athlete somebody is. It's like stands for speed, power, acceleration, agility, but so on. It spells spark.
Yeah.
Regardless, though, but like Sammy Watkins has better spark score than Mike Evans. I mean, like, this guy is an elite talent. It's just, unfortunately, it's been the injuries. But what's been holding back is that Liz Frank injury to that foot. Well, he's had his second surgery, and I went back and I looked at other players who needed the second surgery on the Liz Frank. Guys like Des Bryant, Julian Edelman, and the most famous was Julio Jones. And since Julio Jones has had that second surgery, he's missed 3 games in 3 years, and he's been an absolute stud.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, Sammy Watkins is only 24 years old, and if he can finally put it together, I mean, the dude has insane upside. I mean,
his
my
potential,
favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, he's unbelievable. But I mean, like, over a 6-game sample size, which was in 2015 when he was healthy, I think he had like 35 catches for 679 yards and 6 touchdowns. I mean, I'm not a big fan of always saying if you project that over 16 games, but I mean, it's a pretty amazing number. It comes out to like 93 catches, 1,800 yards, and 16 touchdowns. I mean, that's just
pretty impressive.
Insane upside.
Yeah. But I think that's with any NFL player too, is because they have so much potential, but injuries and things like that just set them back pretty far. But and then even like John Brown, the value that you can get with John Brown, it's definitely there. And Allen Robinson, I think he was really hampered by the coaching of Gus Bradley. And with Blake Bortles a little bit.
No, Blake Bortles a lot. I mean, Blake Bortles, I think, has got like 11 career wins and 11 career pick sixes. I mean, he definitely needs to turn it around a little bit.
Yeah. He reminds me of Ben Roethlisberger, like the way he plays, but I mean, Ben Roethlisberger's obviously better, but the way he plays and like his like physique is kind of similar, but he just, I don't know. I always liked him, but I think he needs to fix something because it's pretty bad right now.
Well, apparently he played last season with 2 separated shoulders, so hopefully that maybe corrects itself a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, turning the ball over 69 times your first 3 seasons is definitely not a way to impress many teams. But also, I mean, Bortles does get garbage points, and I don't know if he'll get it as much this year. I actually just tweeted something out, and if people want to follow me on Twitter, you can find me at Mitchell Renz 365. But Blake Bortles in his first 3 seasons has 7 touchdowns in the first quarter and 29 in the fourth quarter.
Oh my God.
22 of those touchdowns are when he's losing by more than 7 points.
Yeah, so he's
points.
just throwing it up at that point.
Yeah, right. It's crazy.
Jeez.
But I don't know how much that's going to help Robinson, but I don't know. Not having Gus Bradley, who is literally the second worst coach in NFL history.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a career record of 14-48. There's only one guy in the history of the NFL who's got a worse record than he does. His name's Burt Bell, and he coached the Browns in 1936 to 1941. So there's a little stat nugget for you.
That's a sad stat for Gus Bradley.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
So,
I mean, I think Blake Bortles could have a better year this year because he's got a little reamped offense. He's got Leonard Fournette. He still has Allen Hurns, Allen Robinson. So, I mean, he's got a good offense. It's just the way to use it is, I don't know. It's up to him, really.
No, for sure. But I mean, like Robinson, I think in the 2 games that Gus Bradley wasn't the coach, and I think good coaches try to get the ball into their playmakers' hands as much as possible. And in the 2 games that Robinson didn't have Bradley calling the plays, I mean, he had 12 targets both of those games, and I think it was like he racked up a total of like 225 yards or something like that. So I don't know. I think Allen is an elite player. I grew up most of my life in PA, got to go to some Penn State games and watching him play, and he's a difference maker.
Yeah. I mean, when you take his 2015 year, when he had like 1,400 yards or something like that.
1,400 yards, 80 catches, and 14 touchdowns.
14 touchdowns. That's pretty impressive. I mean, it's hard to – I mean, I don't think last year he had that bad of a year, but compared to 2015, it's hard to, like, really compare it because that's pretty unbelievable stats in 2015. So, I mean, being on the Jaguars, it's pretty tough.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's what I mean. I mean, I know last year he was the only wide receiver in the NFL who had over 150 targets to not have 900 receiving yards. Okay. So I think his numbers were like 151 targets, 73 catches, 893 yards, and 8 touchdowns. If that's off the top of my head, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So like even if he can get in between his 2015 and 2016, that's still a really
solid
good year.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have that bounce back year that I've been looking forward to. So hopefully it works out for him. But I think Sammy Watkins, once he reaches his peak, which hopefully is this year, because of Tyrod Taylor, he's been playing well. And he doesn't have like EJ Manuel or Kyle Orton a couple years ago. I think that he could put together a pretty good year.
And it's a contract year for Sammy, so we might see him play through some of those injuries.
Yeah, I think so. Same with Le'Veon Bell, who's on that franchise tag. So hopefully he plays through it.
Le'Veon's different.
We'll get to him. I was also looking at there's a poll going on. I don't know if it was your account or someone else's, but it said who has the best year this year from the 2015 draft class. Is it Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota? What do you think?
Well, I would have said probably back in April that it's Jameis Winston. Okay. But I'm kind of starting to lean more towards Mariota, and the reason why Mariota, it's the ability to run. They just added Eric Decker, who I think is really going to help out a lot in the red zone for him. Yeah. And I mean, Corey Davis, I'm pretty high on. I mean, Rashard Matthews is a very underrated receiver, and Delaney Walker, I think, starts to get kind of filtered out a little bit. But I mean, Jameis has, his weapons are scary good. I mean, it's like Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson's ability to stretch the field, Chris Godwin from Penn. See, O.J. Howard, I think, is going to maybe be more of a blocker than what I think people realize. Okay. O.J. Howard is coming out of college. I could seriously argue he's the best run-blocking tight end that the NFL's seen in the last 10 years.
Really?
He's just a complete tight end. I mean, the guy only had 3 receiving touchdowns, I believe, at Alabama, and he just wasn't used that much. But he's just like a true NFL tight end. The dude gets his hand in the dirt, he gets dirty, and he just bullies people around. And that's why I think he's going to be really successful in the Tampa Bay offense, who I believe ran the most single eye formations last year in the NFL. So when Doug Martin comes back, it's kind of one of the reasons why I'm higher on Martin.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Let's not forget about Cameron Braid either. He had 8 touchdowns last year. Yeah. Tied NFL league high with 8 touchdowns. So, I don't know. If I had to put my money on it right now, my rankings say Mariota, so I'll put my money on Mariota.
Yeah, I just think Jameis Winston has – I mean, obviously I think he has more weapons, but Mariota, because Delaney Walker and what's his name, Rashard Matthews, they both had 65 catch seasons. Rashard Matthews almost had 1,000 yards, which I think a lot of people don't think about, and 9 touchdowns. But he also has DeMarco Murray, who, I mean, he's a Pro Bowler. I like him. But, I mean, if I had to put my money, I'd say Jameis Winston, just because of the weapons that he has, his ability to stretch the field, and I think he'll have more passing yards. But rushing yards, I mean, obviously it'd be Mariota. But I think Winston has more yards and touchdowns, but I don't know. It'll be interesting, I think.
No, I mean, it's definitely there. I know Jameis the last 2 years has been top 4 in air yards. So air yards are literally just the amount of time the ball travels. And when you see them make moves like to get guys like Deshaun Jackson, that's really going to be able to open up the field. And hopefully he can stay healthy. And I mean, I drafted him in the Scott Fish Bowl, so God, I would hope so. But no, I mean, I like Jameis's talent, but I know after the first, I think it was 6 weeks of last year, he was throwing the ball at like a bottom 4 quarterback rate. And what I mean by that is I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they really pulled back his pass attempts and really started to lean more on that run game and on that defense. Yeah, it was like right when the Buccaneers turned it up and started playing much better. So I don't have the stats in front of me though, but I do know he had far less pass attempts in the second half of the year.
Do you think the Bucs are a playoff team this year?
It's tough to say. Just because that division, I feel like every single year is different. I mean, Carolina was a stud and then went to the Super Bowl. Falcons, stud, went to the Super Bowl. And, I mean, Panthers fell off the face of the earth. And I think the Falcons will definitely digress a little bit. But I don't know. I still think the Falcons are the team to beat in that division.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll go to a little bit of more fantasy right now. I'm doing, with my dad, we've been doing this for years. We do like a 12-team flex league. I don't know if you do a lot of flex, but
I only do flex.
Okay, that works out. So my question is, how long do you wait to draft a quarterback?
Well, so honestly, the flex leagues that I do is one quarterback and then flex, and the quarterback can be the flex. Okay. So I feel like that always kind of depends, but I don't know. I literally just hit submit on a button for the fantasy footballers. I just wrote an article about quarterbacks you can trust and quarterbacks you can wait on. So you guys, I guess, will be hearing it first before it probably even comes out. But I wrote it, and I wrote it on Andy Dalton, Eli Manning, and Tyrod Taylor. And it's basically you can wait on quarterbacks this year. Yeah. My top 3 guys are Rodgers, Brady, and Breeze. And if I don't get those guys, I wait until, honestly, I'm the last guy to get them. And like I said, I normally wait pretty long to get quarterbacks anyway because I think the value's there. But I don't know, one of the main components that I use for drafting is try to be, honestly, one of the last guys so I can build depth. But
I agree.
A few of the other guys who I like to target, I really like to target Big Ben. Yeah. I think he's very, very underrated. And if you can combine a guy like Big Ben, play him at home, and then get a guy like Tyrod Taylor and play him on Big Ben's road games, it is something that I love to do, and it's something that I will continue to do. Yeah. Big Ben is I made a bold prediction on him in June that he throws for over 5,000 yards this year.
I honestly could agree with that. I mean, not being biased, but honestly being biased a little bit. But yeah, I could totally see that. I think I
have the stats too.
Yeah. I mean, the only concern with him is his injuries because, I mean, he's going to miss at least 2 games every year. I mean, that's just going to happen. So I think you have to get a pretty solid backup, but I don't know, Tyrod Taylor, honestly, Joe Flacco as a backup maybe for a couple games, but Joe Flacco as a fantasy player is not the best.
Joe Flacco is my mortal enemy, so it's tough to draft Joe Flacco. I mean, at the end of the day, fantasy football is supposed to be fun, and I just can't root for Joe Flacco. It's a tough one for me, but Big Ben, though, I mean, even if I looked at Big Ben when he has Martavis Bryant on the field, and it's about a 19-game sample size. And games that he has Martavis Bryant on the field, Big Ben averages 336 yards, 2.2 touchdowns, and 1.1 interceptions. Yeah. Throughout a course of the season, that's 5,376 yards and 35 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's got Brown on one side and Bryant on the other. How can you go wrong with that?
And Bell. I mean, let's not forget about Bell. I mean, I just read an article that the Steelers are thinking about just going 4 wide. 4 wide, lining Bell up in the backfield because, I mean, who did they just get? Juju Smith-Schuster from USC, who's a big-bodied guy as well. And
They have James Conner, the backup running back, who they could put back there, I'm sure. But yeah.
I mean, dude, their offense is going to be a headache for teams, and it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, Juju's like a Hines Ward type of player. Physical, I like it.
Yeah.
I think he'll be good.
Well,
I'm excited to see that, yeah. All right. So, say you have the number 1 pick in a 12-team flex, with the flex being running back, receiver, tight end. Who do you take? Number 1 pick.
Number 1 pick, I go Le'Veon Bell, and the reason is upside. And
yeah,
it's one of those things. So like, it's really tough between David Johnson right now and Le'Veon Bell. But one reason why I'm going Bell is because I believe in that Steelers offense more than I believe in the Cardinals offense.
Yeah,
and also, well, yeah. I mean, you're also a Steelers fan, so you can agree with me on that. But I mean, Le'Veon Bell last year averaged 157 total yards a game. If he were to average 157 total yards for 16 games, it's 5,212 yards, or not 5,000. Jesus, that's way too much. 2,512 yards.
Yeah, he only played 12 games last year.
That's what I mean. The NFL record for most total yards in a season is 2,510 by Chris Johnson. Le'Veon Bell was on pace to break that.
I think he can this year, honestly. He's got potential for that. Yeah.
He wants to play hungry. He's like in a totally like new mode of not only just making money for himself, but giving running backs like another name for themselves in the league. I mean, and I really saw that statement that he put out. He wants to do it, and if he's motivated, it's just health for him. If he can stay healthy, if you can chalk up 15, 16 games for me from Le'Veon Bell, I take him first overall every time.
By far.
So, I don't know, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, he said that he wants to be paid as the number 1 running back and a number 2 receiver. And honestly, I agree with that. He was the number 2 receiver on Pittsburgh last year. So it's going to be Bryant this year, I'm sure. But
I don't know. Honestly, I could make an argument that I think Bell probably still has more receptions.
Really?
Well, it's just because, like, I mean, Bryant is a big play guy. And I mean, when I think about a defense, you're not going to be able to really double team Antonio Brown anymore because you have to really, really respect the speed that Bryant has. I mean, that's going to take the top off defenses. That's going to take defenses back a little bit.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I can make the argument that it's going to help Le'Veon Bell's receptions. I mean, if you're dropping defenses back a little bit more because they have to respect, I mean, it's just going to be checked down. I mean, and if you want to keep Ben healthy, Ben's always going to be a guy who game manages, but maybe they're like, hey, man, we need you to make that Super Bowl run. Just dump it off to Le'Veon. Let him get a few yards. Yeah,
that's Todd Haley's plan, is to just get the ball out of Big Ben's hands quicker. So, yeah, I agree with that. What do you think about Elliott? Where does he go because of his suspension talk and all that stuff?
Well, that's still kind of a cloudy area.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to harp on it too much because it is just so difficult. But even if he plays all 16 games in a PPR league right now, he's my player 6.
Really?
And well, I take the Le'Veon Bell. I take David Johnson. I'll take Antonio Brown. I'll take Julio Jones. I'll take Odell Beckham.
Okay.
And then I'll take Zeke.
Yeah.
In a standard league, I still think Zeke is probably up there at number 4. I still take Antonio Brown over him. I think Antonio Brown has a big year. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Antonio Brown's numbers with Martavis Bryant are sickening. They are very good, and simply because things we just talked about, teams have to respect Bryant. Opens up a lot more for Brown.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think Brown gets back around like the 120 catch mark. I mean, he did just 2 seasons ago at 136 catches, and he went down to 106. So I think he gets somewhere in that middle again. But I don't know if Zeke, it's kind of looking like he's going to at least get suspended 1 or 2 games.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing that nobody's talking about is the fact that the Cowboys lost 2 really crucial parts of that offensive line. Leary's gone, and I can't think of the other guy's name, but he retired. And then their guys who they replaced him with is a guy who's unproven, and the other guy I believe was cut by 3 teams last year. I don't have his name off the top of my head, but he was cut by like the Patriots, the Browns, and some other team, and he's going to be on their offensive line. And Pro Football Focus has them rated as their 9th overall offensive line, but people are they see the Cowboys line and they're like, oh,
number 1.
And it's not the case anymore. And honestly, I don't even think they're top 5 anymore. And Pro Football Focus, those guys are really smart over there, they agree.
Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah, this just came up like off off the top of my head, where does Adrian Peterson go? Like, is he even drafted?
Yeah, he'll definitely get drafted. I think he's going right now like in the 5th round of most drafts, because it's tough. I mean, the Saints have a very good offensive line. Actually, it's like one of the best offensive lines. I think they were rated number 1 for run blocking even last year over the Cowboys. I think is what Pro Football Focus rated them. But Peterson is not your average guy, and I understand he's 31, 32 years old, but he's missed 2 full seasons due to injuries and off the field issues. And like I said, even at 32, Adrian Peterson is not your normal 32. He is still a freak elite athlete. And for the fantasy footballers, I watched every single run of Adrian Peterson last year. And in runs where he was given more than 2 yards per carry, he averaged 5.7 yards per carry. So it was 2 yards before contact. And the reason why I went with that number is because the Saints last year, on average, gave up about 1.9 yards before contact. So I figured it was close enough sample size where I could make that analogy.
Yeah.
But people look at Peterson's yard per carry last year and they're like, oh my gosh, it was like 1.7? But, I mean, honestly, 51% of his runs last year resulted in him getting hit behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough to do work.
Who are you drafting first? Are you drafting Mark Ingram or Adrian Peterson?
I'll draft the one who goes the latest, because I don't know what it's going to be. I think Mark Ingram is a very talented running back. It seems like for some reason the Saints don't like him, and I don't know what it is. So
I don't know.
I can't figure it out.
Yeah, it's gonna be a committee back there with Peterson and Ingram, and they also just they drafted another running back. Forgot what his name was.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara.
That's
out
right.
of Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would be interesting to see. What's another one? So you were talking about bold predictions. You're saying Big Ben goes over 5,000 yards. If I had to put a bold prediction, I'd say Big Ben wins MVP. Honestly, I mean, I could see it if he stays healthy, if he plays 16 games, and we talked about that offense. Do you have any other bold predictions that you want to throw out?
Yeah, I think another one that I've been kind of harped on, and it's why I'm the highest guy and I'm in the industry right now, is Mike Gillislee. I think Mike Gillislee, he's right now my running back 12, and I don't have a problem putting him there because I think he's going to step into the LeGarrette Blount role, if you will. He's gonna be the power down running back for the Patriots, and even if Gillislee gets only maybe like 200, 220 carries, I think in that Patriots offense he can do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a guy who had the highest yards per carry in the NFL last year at 5.7. And I mean, do you think the Patriots will score a lot of points, and do you think they'll get a lot of first downs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, Mike Gillislee last year had he had the highest percentage of first down runs. So 38.6% of his runs last year resulted in first downs.
Wow.
And the other thing that really gets me excited about him is the fact that he's in that division. He averaged 6.4 yards per carry in 2 games against the Patriots last season, and the Patriots are notorious for taking guys in their division, Wes Welker, Chris Hogan, even Darrelle Revis, and turning them into studs, or just turning them into maybe a lot of times what the coaches weren't taking advantage of. And I think that's kind of what they did here, and I think he's going to be that first and second down running back. And man, I don't know, I think the sky's the limit for this Mike Gillislee guy. And I mean, I think a really amazing testament of his talent is the fact that the Bills were taking LaShawn McCoy off the field to get Gillislee.
I haven't thought about it that way. That's true.
I mean, people don't take LaShawn McCoy off the field.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it just goes to show how amazing of a goal line bruising running back, and how he's just a very talented running back. So I'm excited for Gillislee.
Okay. What do you think about Christian McCaffrey? Where do you think you would put him on your fantasy roster?
Well, he won't be on my fantasy roster. Guaranteed that. I think he's really low for my rankings. I want to say he's probably in like the high 80s, which is very low considering a lot of other people. But I don't know. I don't know how the Carolina Panthers are going to use him. I don't know if they will use him the right way. I think McCaffrey is a great talent.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really unfortunate that he's in that situation. I mean, when I look at running backs, especially running backs like McCaffrey, I look at the 3-cone drill. The 3-cone drill is a great way to see how quick and lateral they move with their feet, and just how much acceleration they have. So one of the reasons why I love Le'Veon Bell coming out, because his 3-cone drill, I encourage you to look it up, is very impressive for how big he was. And I think it really shows that he's very light-footed, and we see that patience and we see that explosion when Le'Veon runs, and McCaffrey is the exact same thing, and his cone drill even is way better than Bell's.
Yeah.
The only issue with this is Cam Newton has been historically bad at throwing the ball to running backs. It's really bad. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but he's like the worst quarterback right now in the NFL at throwing the ball to his running backs. And I don't know, that offense in general, it's tough to rely on. I mean, we saw Cam Newton have one great MVP season where he threw for 35 touchdowns. But if you take out that year, you look at all his other years, I mean, he's averages 20 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and I think he's only had 1 year with over 4,000 yards.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Carolina offense is a head scratcher.
Yeah, and he doesnn't have that big playmaker in Ted Ginn anymore, right?
Yeah, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Honestly, like you can say what you want about Ted Ginn. I mean, Ted Ginn's sure he's gonna drop some passes, but
he makes
dude
big
can
plays,
run, and the guy can stretch the field.
Yeah,
and that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
What do you think about Eddie Lacy? I don't see anything from Eddie Lacy, honestly.
So I did an article for the Fantasy Footballers called "What's on Tape," and it's basically you go back and you watch every single run of a running back, and I got to do it for Eddie Lacy because I was interested just like everybody else was, and it's tough. I mean, honestly, when I watched the tape on Lacy, the Packers, I actually was pretty impressed. When I was watching him run, he still looked pretty light on his feet, and he still was delivering powerful blows and whatnot, but he was on the Packers, and the Packers spread you out way more than what Seattle's going to.
Yeah.
And that offensive line for Seattle is scary. It's kind of one of the reasons why I'm higher on ProSize, but I mean, Eddie Lacy, do you know what his yards per carry was last year by any chance?
No, I don't.
So he had his highest yards per carry in his career last year at 5.1. I mean, that's better than Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott, and better than David Johnson.
But how many games did he play?
On his 5 games.
Okay.
I'm saying on his pace, he was on pace for like 1,200 rushing yards.
Yeah. But
don't get me wrong. It's tough. It's tough to say with Lacy. I mean, and Lacy's biggest thing is he just needs to be in kind of good shape.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, he's never been a guy who's been in amazing shape, but it's been out of hand, and I think it's led to his injuries, and hopefully he turns it around a little bit, but I know Pete Carroll wants a bruising running back.
He's not Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's why in the article I don't call him beast mode, I call him feast mode. And it's like, I don't know. I think he wants him. I think he wants Lacy to be that bruising running back. I just don't know with that offensive line if they can do it.
The offensive line is brutal to watch.
It might be the worst offensive line in football.
Oh, yeah. Who's the featured back, do you think? Is it Lacy? Is it ProSize? Is it Rawls?
I don't think they have a featured back. Honestly, I just don't think they're probably going to mix and match a little bit with Rawls and Lacy, but I think ProSize has the most upside. I think ProSize is no doubt the third down back, and we saw last year many glimpses of how dynamic of a player that ProSize is, and I've even seen people compare ProSize to David Johnson. Yeah, he's not as big as David Johnson, but ProSize used to be a wide receiver. He can catch the ball. He can run. It's just, honestly, it's been health for him, I think, ever since he's come out of Notre Dame. So we'll see, though. I mean, I like ProSize's upside, especially in a PPR league.
I remember I picked him up. I think it was probably like week 13 or 14, and then he got hurt like the next week. I was all excited about getting him, and then I think it was something with his collarbone, but that hurt a little bit.
The collarbone are on your team.
Yeah. Let's see. All right, we'll end it with a couple fill in the blanks that I think would be cool to do. All right. In 5 years, the best quarterback will be who?
Andrew Luck.
Why do you say that?
Because I think Andrew Luck all right, so like Rodgers talent-wise is the best quarterback, but I don't know. I think Andrew Luck is right behind him, and I think if the Colts can just start to put some pieces together around Luck, he can be special.
The offensive line, for sure.
Well, that's what I mean. They just need to get some offensive line pieces around him, and that Colts defense is still really bad.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if we're talking about NFL or fantasy football, but if you're on a bad defense, I mean, we see it with Breeze. Breeze just puts up sick numbers every year because he has to. And I mean, it's really tough to turn around a defense in a short amount of time. I think it's easier with an offense, especially with a quarterback like Luck. So I'll take Luck.
Okay. In 5 years, the worst team in football will be who?
Probably the Jets, because I just don't see them doing anything. I mean, I used to work for the Jets in college, so I'm kind of a Jets fan a little bit. But man, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing this year. I think it's obvious what they're doing. I mean, I think even Quincy Enunwa himself said like a week ago that it's obvious. I think the Jets are tanking. Like, he literally said that, and I can't even believe a player on their own team said that. But they are. I mean, I could, man. If somebody told me right now what the over-under is for the Jets, which I think it's like 3 or 4 games, honestly, if you gave me the over-under for 1, I might take the under. Like, they are legitimately bad enough where they could not win a game this year. I mean, their quarterback play is abysmal. Their wide receivers, I mean, they didn't play particularly well last year at the wide receiver position. They lost Brandon Marshall.
Enunwa was their best player last year.
That's what I mean. Like, Bilal Powell led the team, or was tied with the league high or the team high with like 59 catches, 58 catches. I mean, a running back, 58 catches, team high. I mean, that's bad. And now their quarterback play is, Ryan Fitzpatrick was horrible last year on all counts, but I don't know if it's better. I mean, Josh McCown, I like Josh McCown better as a talent-wise than Fitzpatrick, but he can't stay healthy. And
they have Christian Hackenberg?
Yeah, he's horrible.
Yeah.
I can tell you firsthand that he's not good.
Yeah. Do you think they win more, or do you think the Browns win more games than the Jets this year?
Oh yeah. Honestly, I could see the Browns. If the Browns had a decent quarterback, I could easily see them being like a 500 team. I'm still not totally sold on Kessler, and I'm not a big Kaiser guy either. But I don't know. I think with that offensive line that they've built, and hopefully they lean on that running game a little bit more, and their defense is a little bit better, I can see the Browns winning like 5 games.
Okay. I could agree with that. All right. Do one more question.
Cool.
All right. You turn on the TV on the first Sunday of the new season. What team are you watching first?
Red Zone.
Okay.
I'd watch the Red Zone, or luckily at this season now with the fantasy footballers, we have the Game Pass, so I can watch whatever game I want.
Yeah.
But I watch my fantasy guys, and it's one reason why I don't really have a favorite team in the NFL, because I believe it creates bias, and I don't know. I like to watch, like I said, I just moved up here to Boston, and people up here in Boston are nuts about the Patriots, which is totally reasonable. They're a pretty good team. But straight up, like, if I had Tom Brady on my team and they're playing the Jets, I'm rooting for Tom Brady and that Patriots team to just stomp on them, because I care about fantasy football. So I watch my guys.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right. Well, I think that's all I got for today.
Awesome, man. I just want to say thank you for reaching out to me. It takes a lot of courage. I think a lot of times people are afraid to ask for help, and I believe me, I've been in your shoes, and I'm still in your shoes. I still reach out to people. So, but no, I really appreciate it. And if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, follow me at Mitchell Renz 365. Also, check out fantasyfootballtshirts.com. They are some pretty amazing t-shirts. You guys would definitely like them. I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan, but we created one that's like Antonio Brown Star Wars theme. It's pretty dope. I'm going to be honest with you, but
I might check that out.
Check it out. Also, if you guys are fantasy football freaks and geeks, kind of like me, I got invited to go to the Fantasy Sports Show in Toronto, August 25th to 27th. You guys can check out tickets online or DM me. Maybe I can hook you up with something. I'll talk to the guys over there and continue to check out my articles at Gridiron Experts, Fantasy Pros, Fantasy Footballers. And if you could, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe to my podcast at Gridiron Experts. So, again, man, thank you very much for having me on. And
thanks for being here. I really appreciate that.
Well, you got to keep me up to date with some Barstool sports stuff. That seems to be what you're going to be into. So I expect to see you someday.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Yep. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.